Hey guys, Derek here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Quest 3, oddly enough. As a PC and I guess VR enthusiast, as someone who's owned about 6 or 7 headsets now, and is always looking for the best tech, it makes me feel a little weird to say that this is a headset that you can go literally pick up at any Best Buy, and that this is the one I'm using, instead of something that you have to do a bit more research on, such as my past Vario Aero or 8KX. But yeah, I'm using this now out of all the choices I had available to me, including the Vario Aero that I used to have. So we're going to go into detail about why I'm using this, and something that literally everyone doesn't, not that they get wrong, but does not include on any Quest 3 optimized settings video, and I don't know why literally no one has talked about it. So when you look up Quest 3 videos on optimizing performance for PCVR, everyone goes to the debugger tool, sets the bitrate to, I don't know why some people are putting the bitrate to like 900 or 800 or 700 on their videos. Like, if you're doing PCVR and you're an enthusiast and you have that type of PC, you should be using 960. That's the max bitrate. Anything other than that, what are you doing? Unless you're getting performance issues with that, I guess. But ultimately, you need to be setting that at 960. Also, I use like quality. We'll go over the settings a little bit. My glasses are crooked because I stepped on them, and I don't know which way to turn them looking at it. But one thing no one does with the Quest 3 when it comes to the Crystal Light or the Vario Aero, or when they're doing any comparison to this to another Steam VR headset or another PC VR headset, is the actual super sampling. And yeah, they crank up the slider and do that type of stuff, but I'm going one step beyond that. And we'll just go for a drive in this thing, and we're going to talk about it. And, again, not that people are getting this wrong, but you look up, VR Flight Sim Guy's video, you look up Gamer Muscles, you can look up everyone, and it's just going over the debugger tool, and they're comparing it, not the guys that I just mentioned are necessarily comparing it, but people have been comparing this to the Crystal Light and the Vario Aero, and they're not doing apples to apples. They're doing base Quest 3 versus Crystal Light. And we're going to go for a drive, and we're going to talk about this, and I'm just going to explain how to get the most out of your headset, because I have found 0 people online explaining how to get the most out of this thing for PCVR. So let's get into it. Okay, so just taking a look here, this is an example of the Steam render resolution of the Vario Aero. If you're able to run it on either high or very high settings, which I believe correlates to very high being 37 ppd, 39 being the highest, and 35 being high or the default. So if you notice these resolutions, they're all over what the Steam VR render resolution would be if you set the slider in the Oculus software to max, and then you go look at the Steam VR render resolution. It's like 27 something by 29 something. So when we're doing these headset comparisons and you're putting it up against the Aero that's running 3608 by 3092, or the Pimax Crystal running whatever the heck that thing runs, obviously you're going to get a way better image in those headsets. Now, I'm not saying that the Quest 3, if running the equivalent or even necessarily higher render resolution per eye, will give you the image quality that the Crystal does or the Vario Aero does, but it will close the gap pretty significantly. So if you have the PC to do it, I would say start at 90 hertz and just see what you can get as far as clarity goes, and then mess around with the settings from there. So maybe start at the 3000 by 3000 range and then push it up. I actually run the high 3000s by even 4000, I think, or whatever the render resolution is at 200% Steam VR render resolution, and the Quest 3 does look very good at that res. For recording or more intensive purposes, I usually go back to about 150% Steam render resolution, but you can push it much higher with a system like a 4090 or even a 4080, I would assume. You could probably push a Steam render resolution around like 180% and maxed out the slider in the Oculus software, and only then will you get the most out of your headset. Just for an example of what this might look like, you can look at my last video as well, just the YouTube short I did on Through the Lenses. That'll give you kind of an idea. Okay, so just sitting in the car now, and hopefully that gives a bit of background in terms of the render resolution and how much, it can actually affect the quality of the image in the display. So if I look down here, and I really hope that's being captured, but you can see resolution by setting. We're running 150 right now at 90 hertz. Outside of recording, a lot of the time I do just run at 150, but I can crank it up to 200 depending on the scenario. Like I've been doing online races at Spa on LFM, and I've just been running 200% resolution, and the 4090's been handling it. Now, as we get driving here, one thing I'll talk about is that since the resolution of the headset, of course, isn't that of the Aero or the Crystal Light, so there's going to be a marginal difference. Is that right? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Once you get up to like the 150% resolution, 180, 200, like it'll look slightly better, but ultimately, since the resolution of the headset isn't up there, it's not going to make that much of a difference, at least in my findings. Like if you were to do 300% resolution versus like 200, you're probably not going to notice it that much just because the resolution of the headset's lower. But what this has done, it's opened up my eyes quite a bit, because when I originally got the Quest 3 and started driving with it, I was slightly disappointed in the visuals, especially because everyone talks about the how we don't have a display port, we don't have the HDMI, so it's just running over the USB cable, and there's noticeable compression and artifacts and this and that. And once you have the bitrate cranked up to 960, and once you have the resolution especially cranked up beyond what the Quest does in the base software, if you set it to slider 1.7 on 120 hertz or 1.5 on 90 hertz, once you go past that, then it really starts opening up your eyes for PCVR and the capabilities of the thing. So pretty much every comparison that I've been watching on YouTube has been like, Quest 3 either maxed out or 960 bitrate, and they're not even using the slider all the way to the right and the Quest software, let alone in Steam VR. So if you're running, the Steam VR at 100%, maybe I'll have to look at it again. It's like 27 something by like 28 or 29 something, and we're comparing that against headsets that are in-game rendering at 3,000 something by 4,000 something, or maybe even higher. I don't know what the Crystal Light does for Steam VR, but like the Vario Aero, the chart I showed before, or I'll put it up now if I didn't show it before. We're comparing, and that's why I'm saying we're not doing apples to apples comparisons, and no one has kind of not acknowledged this, but talked about it with the Quest 3, because you're limiting your Quest 3. If you're trying to do PC VR specifically, and it's sad because I see people on Reddit say, oh yeah, it's just not high enough resolution, I returned my Quest 3. It's like, that's true, and I was thinking about returning it and just trying to get the Crystal Light, but one of the main reasons was comfort, and I'll get into that in a little bit later. But in terms of just raw resolution, once you put your Steam resolution up, I'll try to keep my head still because it's probably shaky. Once you put that Steam resolution up, it becomes a different headset in my opinion. It goes from wanting to return it to, oh, this actually looks pretty dang good. And everything else that the Quest 3 does is like just a bonus. I only got this for PCVR ultimately. I just wanted to try it out and see if that could be worthwhile. And I've been pretty dang happy with it. And I got the Kiwi head strap and the Kiwi faceplate. And the main reason I found myself keeping this instead of looking for another Vario headset maybe on the marketplace or Pimax Crystal Light, is how long my sessions are. And that may be a factor for some of you guys, but not others. Maybe you guys do like a 45-minute to an hour. Maybe you guys do an hour and a half. But maybe you're not like me, where I be in the headset for 3+ to 4 hours. And that's where, my gosh, the 8KX initially, in like my review of that thing, it was fine, and it was. But as the months went on, my neck started hurting, and it got to the point where it's like, as soon as I put this on, within 10 minutes, I'm like, I need to get out of the thing, and it was refreshing once I got out. The Vario Aero, while it's a pretty dang light headset, and that thing, it still arguably is my favorite headset, especially for sim racing. I think it loses in terms of FOV to the Quest 3, especially vertically, and by your nose. I believe there was a bit of a cutoff by your nose. This doesn't have that, and this does have the pancake lenses, so there's no chromatic aberration, no warping. The Vario Aero, a little bit, if you look at an object and turn your head left and right, it will have a bit of motion blur, or like a little blur. Some people say they're affected by it, some people don't really notice it. When I'm racing, I don't really notice it, but it is there. Quest 3 doesn't have any of that with the pancake lenses. And I don't know if I talked about it in my last section, but in the Quest 3 settings before you jump into PCVR, I turn the brightness down by 2
notches, and I turn the contrast up by 3 or 4, and it really makes the colors pop in game once you actually do PCVR mode. So a lot of people don't know that the settings in the Quest 3 before you hit PCVR actually affect PCVR. So again, debugger tool, we're going to go 960 bitrate. We're going to do link quality, or the link sharpening thing set to quality. I'm still trying to mess around with the reprojection stuff to see if I can get it to just permanently be off, but it doesn't seem like that's a thing. It hasn't really bothered me too much though. And then, you know, max out in the Oculus software your slider. I'm not trying to hit any crazy laptops here, just kind of driving, but max out your slider, and then look in Steam VR what your Steam VR resolution is. And if you are a PC VR enthusiast and you're used to the Crystal, used to the Aero, I really kind of advise that anyone with the Quest 3 ups their resolution to that of the Crystal, the Steam resolution of the Crystal, or the Steam resolution of the Vario Aero. And once you do that, I think it makes a massive world of difference with your Quest 3. This guy's going a little too slow. To the point where you might actually be satisfied with it as a PC VR headset, which is pretty wild since it's something you can just pick up at your local Best Buy. Because all of us enthusiasts, you know, oh, good gosh. All of us enthusiasts do the research. We wait, you know, frickin' 2 months for our headsets to ship in, and then you gotta tinker with everything, and like to be able to just walk in, pick this up, and be happy with it. It's just weird from an enthusiast standpoint. Now, the comfort in this thing is absolutely wild. I got my prescription lenses. Again, I got the Kiwi strap and Kiwi faceplate, and once I added all that, at the end of my like 3 to 4 hour sessions, it's not like, oh, thank God I'm out. Like, I actually don't get that. And that to me is worth a bit of the sacrifice of raw resolution, because I don't need to get out of the headset. And driving on my, I don't know if you can see it behind me on the camera, like I got an 85-inch 120 hertz TV, and I drive on that thing, and it's just not the same. I just need, I don't know, I just need VR at this point. I've done the triple screens, triple 1440p, 165 hertz. I've done the 85-inch TV. I've done 55-inch TV. And there's just, you know, no coming back or no switching once you've gotten really used to VR. My driving and lap times are better in VR. I feel like it's more natural. Everything's just better in VR for me personally. And with this headset, again, the comfort is worth the extra money. The comfort is worth the sacrifice in resolution. Sorry, not the extra money. But once you get all the accessories for the thing, it does kind of get you up there to that Crystal Light price point. So it's like, do you really want to pick this over Crystal Light for PC VR? And probably, I've seen a lot of quality comments about the Crystal, about how the resolution or the lenses are distorted, chromatic aberration. Some people have like static lines going through like the display. Like, I've seen all types of weird things. And as someone that was a bit of a fan of the 8KX, I was kind of curious about the Crystal Light. Decided to try this out since you can just pick it up pretty much instantly. And I was gonna return it and bump the Steam resolution up after maxing everything else out, and then I'm happy with it all of a sudden, right? So I wanted to touch on that to get the most out of your Quest 3 and PC VR. Please try upping your resolution to that of your other headsets that you're researching before throwing in the towel with the Quest 3. And this is the most comfortable headset I've ever worn, so I am not going to return this for a Pimax Crystal. I wouldn't mind trying to do a comparison video if they ever have a review unit. Maybe I'll reach out to them, or maybe, I don't know, if I get too sucked into kind of like benchmarking, comparing things almost more than the actual experience within VR itself sometimes. I love benchmarking things, so maybe, I don't know. There might be another headset I want to try to compare this to. Maybe eventually I might get my hands on a Crystal Light and just see. But from the comfort standpoint and where I have the resolution at now, no, it's not quite up to par with the Vario Aero. But once you crank everything, it's not that far off that it becomes I need to, I've been spoiled by the Aero, and the Quest 3 is just a no-go. I don't find that. Comfort, the lenses, the audio is actually not terrible. I actually raced with just the Quest 3 audio. There's a bit more to be desired with it, but for the price point, I'm not going to complain. And then everything else you can do with it, right? You can just take the headset upstairs wirelessly, watch a couple YouTube videos. I don't do anything wireless really, or like do Beat Saber too much or anything like that. But it is cool to have you know, to be able to go outside with it even, or do some mixed reality stuff. Having the option's kind of cool. But again, I'm mainly just focused on PCVR and Assetto Corsa, which I've been loving, by the way, with Low Fuel Motorsport. I've only done 2 races thus far. I won a race on the Nordschleife, and on this track, and then I won a race on Spa in GT3. So maybe I'll stream that. I don't know. I'm probably gonna do another Spa race tonight. But yeah, just wanted to make this video. Just say don't give up on the Quest 3 just yet. Try the resolution bumping up. Again, I'm running 150, so with a 4090 graphics card. So try setting it to 150 at 90 hertz. I find 120 hertz, the sense of speed is pretty ridiculous. But it doesn't. I think it's something to do with the reprojection always having to be on. It doesn't always have smooth moments. Even though your GPU's barely being hit, like 70% GPU, it'll still have occasional slowdowns on 120 hertz, which I don't feel on 90 hertz. So I just keep it at 90 hertz and crank up the resolution. I'm recording right now, so I only do 150%, which is the 3332 by 3644, which I think is actually above the render resolution with the Vario Aero, but I can push it even further than that, up to 200%, and still have really good experience. So kind of just driving and talking, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So try that with the Quest 3 first. No one's ever talked about it, so up your resolution beyond what just the slider does. Make sure your bitrate's at 960. Put your sharpening to quality and give it an honest go. If at that point, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna ever get the chance to compare this to the Crystal or not. I might want to, but really, I'm happy with this, and I can race. I practice for an hour. Then I go to the actual qualifying and practice session. Then I do the race for half an hour, and then I go back in and practice a few more laps even. So usually, even with the other headsets I've had, like the Aero and the 8KX, or the Reverb G2 was pretty dang comfortable, I'm not gonna lie. But after the race, it's like, okay, I'm out. Yes, okay, I feel better now. Red all around my face. Like, okay, good, I'm out. This has just been, maybe it's the Kiwi faceplate and strap, but even after my sessions, I'm going back in to do some more practice laps and then mess around with a couple more fun scenarios. Also, you get a microphone with the thing, so I've just been filming this the whole time with the Quest 3 mic. So yeah, I'm just kind of talking about the same thing over and over now, so I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys enjoy your Quest 3s, and try to up your resolution in game to match the headsets that you're comparing it against. Otherwise, I don't think it's a fair apples to apples comparison. Pump more pixels into the headset and then decide from there. Thanks. Bye for now.